All right, let's talk JFK.
Yeah, the Kennedy assassination.
It's one of those things, right?
Definitely. A turning point in American history. Still resonates today.
So many questions surrounding it.
Yeah.
All those files, the JFK assassination files.
A massive amount of information. Daunting to sort through, for sure.
So we figured for this deep dive, we'd try something different.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to explore those files, but through a trivia challenge. 25 questions to be exact.
Sounds interesting. Like a fun way to learn.
Right. A quick, but hopefully insightful look into some of the key facts, the controversies, maybe even a few surprises along the way.
I'm game. Let's see what we've got.
Okay. Question 1. What year was the JFK Assassination Records Collection Act passed? A, 1988, B, 1992, or C, 1996?
All right. 1988. That was a big year for lots of things, but not for this specific act. 1996, well, that comes after the main push for more transparency on the JFK assassination, which leaves us with 1992. And this act, it was a direct response to, all those years of public distrust and all the alternative theories out there. Basically, it said the government had to release all these documents about the assassination, to let researchers and the public actually look at the evidence and form their own opinions.
Correct answer, B, 1992. Question 2. How many previously unseen documents were included in the final release of the JFK files back in 2017? A, 3,100, B, 5,000, or C, 10,000?
Now, those are some big numbers. 5,000, 10,000, wow. But the real number for the docs released in 2017 that had never been seen before was 3 to 100. That's still a huge amount of new info, though. And remember, even with all that, some documents are still kept secret. National security reasons, they say. Which, of course, keeps the debates going.
Right. The answer is A, 3,100. All right, question 3. Where did Lee Harvey Oswald travel to in September 1963, right before the assassination? A, Havana, Cuba, B, Mexico City, Mexico, or C, Moscow, USSR?
Okay, so where was Oswald in those crucial months? Havana. Well, there are theories about Cuba being involved, sure, but Oswald's trip wasn't actually to Cuba right before the assassination. Moscow, now that's interesting because Oswald did live in the Soviet Union at one point. But in the fall of '63, his trip was to, Mexico City, Mexico. That trip is a big deal. He reportedly met with people from the Cuban and Soviet embassies there. So, of course, people wonder, was there some kind of foreign influence? What exactly went down on that trip? A lot of questions remain.
You got it. The answer is B, Mexico City, Mexico.
Yeah.
Question 4. What was the official conclusion of the Warren Commission about Oswald's involvement? Was it A, he acted alone, B, he was part of a Soviet conspiracy, or C, he was hired by Cuban agents?
This one takes us right to the heart of things. The Warren Commission. The official investigation. A lot of theories swirling around. Soviet conspiracy. Cuban agents. But the Warren Commission, they concluded that Oswald acted alone. Now, that conclusion, it's been debated like crazy ever since. Many people just don't buy it. And the Warren Report, it was huge, but it's been criticized for its methods and for maybe having some biases.
The correct answer is A, he acted alone. Okay, on to question 5. Who killed Lee Harvey Oswald 2 days after JFK was shot? A, Jack Ruby, B, James Earl Ray, or C, John Connolly?
This was a crazy turn of events. Like, just when you thought things couldn't get more complicated, James Earl Ray, well, we know him from the MLK assassination. John Connolly, the Texas governor, he was actually wounded in the shooting with Kennedy. So that leaves us with Jack Ruby, a Dallas nightclub owner, shoots Oswald on live TV right there while the police are moving him. Talk about a bombshell. Meant Oswald never went to trial, never gave his side of the story. And of course, all that fueled the conspiracy theories even more.
You're on a roll. It is A, Jack Ruby. Okay, question 6. What type of rifle did Oswald allegedly use to assassinate JFK? A, Springfield M1903, B, Mannlicher Carcano, or C, Remington Model 700?
So what was the weapon? The Warren Commission, they identified it as a Mannlicher Carcano Italian-made rifle. That's a very specific type of gun, not a Springfield M1903, and not a Remington Model 700, though that's a pretty common rifle. But the Mannlicher Carcano became a key piece of evidence, even though, people have questioned its accuracy, whether Oswald could even use it that well. It's all been scrutinized.
The answer is B, Mannlicher Carcano.
Okay.
Question 7. What's the name of the building where Oswald allegedly fired the shots? A, Texas School Book Depository, B, Dallas Municipal Building, or C, Dealey Plaza Office Tower?
The place those shots came from, that's essential to understanding what happened in Dealey Plaza, so not the Dallas Municipal Building. And it wasn't the Dealey Plaza Office Tower either. According to the Warren Commission, the shots came from the Texas School Book Depository. Oswald worked in that building. And a rifle was found on the 6th floor by a window overlooking the motorcade route. That's a crucial part of the official story.
Correct. The answer is A, Texas School Book Depository. Here's question 8. How many shots did the Warren Commission say were fired at JFK? A, 2, B, 3, or C, 4?
How many shots? That's a big one. 2 shots. No, the Warren Commission said it was more than 2, 4 shots. Now, that's interesting because a later investigation, the House Select Committee on Assassinations, they said there might have been 4 shots, based on acoustic evidence, though that's been disputed. But the Warren Commission officially said 3 shots. And that's where the single bullet theory comes in, which is its own whole debate. 1 bullet hitting both Kennedy and Connally. People argue whether that's even physically possible.
It's definitely a complex issue. The answer is B, 3.
Okay.
Question 9. Which government agency was keeping tabs on Oswald before the assassination? A, FBI and CIA. B, Secret Service and NSA. Or C, Department of Defense and State Department.
So who was watching Oswald? The FBI and CIA, they definitely had information on him before the assassination. Documents that have been released show they knew about his trips, who he talked to, all that. Which makes people wonder, did they miss something? Could they have stopped it? Big questions there. The Secret Service, well, they're mainly focused on protecting the president. The NSA, they're all about signals intelligence, right?
Yeah.
And the Department of Defense and the State Department, they have broader roles. But when it comes to Oswald's specific activities, it was the FBI and CIA that were most involved.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions about what they knew and when. The answer is A, FBI and CIA. All right, moving on to question 10. What's the controversial theory connected to Oswald's trip to Mexico City? Is it A, he met with Cuban and Soviet spies? B, he was recruited by CIA agents there? Or C, he received assassination orders there?
Mexico City, always lots of speculation about that trip. Was he recruited by the CIA there? That's one theory floating around. Did he get direct orders to kill Kennedy while he was there? That's another conspiracy theory. But the one that really sticks, the theory most people talk about, is that he met with Cuban and Soviet spies in Mexico City. Which makes you think, could there have been foreign involvement? We know he tried to contact both embassies, so it's definitely a major point of interest for researchers.
And the answer is A, he met with Cuban and Soviet spies. Question 11. What important thing happened to a Dallas police officer not long after JFK was killed? A, Officer J.D. Tippit was killed by Oswald. B, Officer J.D. Tippit arrested Jack Ruby. Or C, Officer J.D. Tippit saw another shooter running away from Dealey Plaza.
Right after the assassination, another crucial event. It wasn't Officer Tippit arresting Jack Ruby because Tippit was actually killed before Ruby shot Oswald. And while there are people who say they saw another shooter in Dealey Plaza, the fact is Officer Tippit was shot and killed and Oswald was the one who did it. This happened in a different part of Dallas, not Dealey Plaza. And this connection, Oswald shooting a police officer, it strengthened the case against him, beyond just what happened with Kennedy.
The answer is A. Officer J.D. Tippit was killed by Oswald. All right, we're making good progress. Question 12. What year did Congress set up the House Select Committee on Assassinations? Was it A, 1976, B, 1980, or C, 1984?
So after the Warren Commission, there were more investigations, right? They wanted to look into both the JFK and MLK assassinations again. And that's why they formed the House Select Committee on Assassinations, the HSCA, in 1976. 1980 and 1984, those were both after the HSCA was already up and running, doing their thing. And, the HSCA, they came to a different conclusion than the Warren Commission. They said there's probably a conspiracy, big difference there.
Yeah, it definitely opened up a whole new can of worms. The correct answer is A. 1976. Here we go. Question 13. What did Paul Landis, a Secret Service agent, say recently about a bullet from JFK's car? A, he put it on Kennedy's stretcher at the hospital. B, he found it near Dealey Plaza and kept it for evidence. Or C, he gave it directly to Jackie Kennedy to hold on to.
This is new information, and it's gotten a lot of attention. It's not what's said in B or C. What Paul Landis is saying is that he put a bullet on Kennedy's stretcher at the hospital. That's a pretty big deal because it throws a wrench into the whole single bullet theory, like the path of the bullet, when it was fired, all that. It sparked a lot of debate.
Yeah, it's pretty significant. The correct answer is A. He put it on Kennedy's stretcher at the hospital. Almost there. Question 14. What percent of the JFK files were still kept secret until they were released recently? A, 1%. B, 5%. Or C, 10%.
Thanks to that 1992 act we talked about, most of the documents are now public, which means only a small percentage was still classified, like 1%. If it was 5% or 10%, that would be a lot more stuff still hidden away. But even with that tiny bit that's left, it makes you wonder, what's still in there?
Exactly. The answer is A, 1%. All right, question 15. Which investigation said it's highly probable that 2 gunmen fired at President Kennedy? Was it A, the Warren Commission report from 1964, B, the House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1979, or C, the Rockefeller Commission in 1975.
So remember, the Warren Commission from '64, they said Oswald did it alone. The Rockefeller Commission, they were looking into what the CIA was doing, not specifically the JFK assassination. It was the House Select Committee on Assassinations, the HSCA, that came out and said there was probably 2 shooters. That was in 1979. And they said it because of that acoustic evidence we mentioned, which is still controversial. But that conclusion, it's a cornerstone of a lot of the conspiracy theories you hear.
The answer is B, House Select Committee on Assassinations in 1979. Question 16. Where in Dallas did they shoot JFK? A, Elm Street in Dealey Plaza. B, Main Street near City Hall. Or C, Commerce Street near Union Station.
The motorcade went all over Dallas that day. They were on Main Street, yeah, and Commerce Street too. But the spot where the shots hit Kennedy, that was Elm Street in Dealey Plaza, right after the motorcade turned onto Elm. That specific place, it's incredibly important historically speaking. It's been studied and analyzed over and over.
The answer is A, Elm Street in Dealey Plaza. Question 17. Someone pretending to be Oswald made calls to embassies. What name did they use? A, Lee Henry Oswald. B, Alex J. Heidel. Or C, Harvey Lee.
This detail, it's interesting. Like someone was trying to make Oswald look guilty, maybe even set him up. Lee Henry Oswald, that's too close to his real name, right? And Harvey Lee, that wasn't it either. The name that comes up is Alex J. Heidel. That's the alias they say was used when someone was pretending to be Oswald on the phone with the Cuban and Soviet embassies in Mexico City. And this, of course, makes people think, hang on, was there something bigger going on here? Was it more than just Oswald acting alone?
Yeah, very suspicious. The answer is B, Alex J. Heidel. A couple more to go. Question 18. When did the law say they had to release the JFK files? A, early 1980s, B, late 1990s, or C, early 2000s?
Some documents came out before, sure, but the big change came with that 1992 JFK Assassination Records Collection Act. Because of that, the first major release of documents, the ones they had to make public, that was in the late 1990s. The early 80s, that was before that law. And the early 2000s, well, that was after those first big releases.
The correct answer is B, late 1990s. Last one, question 19. Who was the head honcho of the Assassination Records Review Board, the ARRB? Was it A, John Tunheim, B, Earl Warren, or C, Gerald Ford?
The ARRB, they were the ones in charge of going through all those JFK files and deciding what to release back in the 90s. Important job. Now, Earl Warren, he was the guy who ran the Warren Commission. That was a different group entirely. And Gerald Ford, he was on the Warren Commission, but not the ARRB. The person who ran the ARRB, the one who really steered the document releases, was John Tunheim.
The answer is A, John Tunheim.
Yeah.
And there you have it, 19 down and only 6 to go.
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, right?
That's right. Back, we're diving right back into those JFK files. Ready for question 20?
Bring it on.
Okay. What was unusual about the bullet that allegedly killed President Kennedy, according to some analyses? A, it had an unusually flat trajectory. B, it fragmented upon impact, leaving behind very few traces. C, it tumbled in flight, causing more extensive damage than a typical bullet.
This delves into the specifics of the ballistic evidence, which, as we've seen, is a major source of debate. The idea of a fragmented bullet leaving minimal traces, while possible, wasn't a primary focus of the discussions. Tumbling bullets can definitely cause unpredictable damage, but that wasn't the main point of contention here. The most unusual and hotly debated aspect, especially in the context of the single bullet theory, is the idea of an unusually flat trajectory. For a single bullet to have struck both President Kennedy and Governor Connally, as the Warren Commission concluded, its path would have had to defy typical ballistic behavior, leading to skepticism and alternative theories.
You nailed it. The correct answer is A. It had an unusually flat trajectory. On to question 21. What did the CIA do with some of its files relating to the assassination, as revealed in later disclosures? A, they destroyed them entirely, claiming national security justifications. B, they redacted them heavily, citing privacy concerns for individuals involved. C, they transferred them to a secret archive, inaccessible to researchers or the public.
This touches on the issue of government secrecy and how information is handled. Complete destruction, while certainly possible, wasn't the method employed here, and transferring files to a completely inaccessible archive would be highly controversial. The practice that came to light and which fueled distrust was heavy redaction. Many of the CIA's files, when they were eventually released, had significant portions blacked out or obscured, with the agency citing privacy concerns for individuals mentioned or the sensitivity of intelligence methods. This, of course, left gaps in the narrative and prompted questions about whether crucial information was being withheld from the public.
The answer is B. They redacted them heavily, citing privacy concerns for individuals involved. Okay, question 22. What was discovered about the audio recording of the assassination that was taken from a nearby police motorcycle known as the dictabelt recording? A. It was tampered with, containing spliced sections and altered sounds. B. It was too distorted to be useful, offering no clear evidence about the number of shots fired. C. It contained evidence of a fourth shot, supporting the theory of a second shooter.
The dictabelt recording is a fascinating piece of evidence that has been analyzed extensively. While tampering is always a possibility when dealing with sensitive recordings, that wasn't the primary conclusion reached here. And while some level of distortion is inherent in such recordings, it wasn't deemed entirely useless. What the analysis of the dictabelt recording revealed was potential evidence of a fourth shot, a finding that significantly bolstered theories involving a second shooter. This, of course, directly challenged the Warren Commission's conclusion of only 3 shots fired and fueled the debate about a possible conspiracy.
It sure did. The answer is C. It contained evidence of a fourth shot, supporting the theory of a second shooter. Question 23. What connection did the House Select Committee on Assassinations find between the CIA and organized crime figures prior to the assassination? A. They collaborated on several covert operations, including attempts to assassinate Fidel Castro. B. They had a contentious relationship with the CIA, frequently thwarting organized crime activities. C. They had no significant connection with their activities, remaining entirely separate.
This delves into a murky area where the lines between government intelligence and criminal enterprises can blur. The HSCA didn't find evidence of a purely contentious relationship, nor did they conclude there was no connection whatsoever. What they uncovered was evidence of collaboration between the CIA and figures associated with organized crime. Specifically, their investigation revealed that these groups had worked together on covert operations, most notably attempts to assassinate Fidel Castro, the Cuban leader. This connection raised serious questions about the CIA's methods and whether these associations might have played a role in the events surrounding the JFK assassination.
The answer is A. They collaborated on several covert operations, including attempts to assassinate Fidel Castro. Almost done. Question 24. What did eyewitness accounts of the assassination reveal about the direction of the fatal shots? A. They were unanimous, all pointing to the Texas Schoolbook Depository as the source. B. They were highly conflicting, with some witnesses claiming shots came from different locations. C. They were largely inconclusive, with most witnesses unable to recall specific details about the shots.
Eyewitness testimony in such a chaotic and traumatic event is understandably unreliable. You're right, the accounts weren't entirely inconclusive, and there wasn't complete unanimity either. What emerged from the collection of eyewitness testimonies was a significant level of conflict. While some witnesses did point to the Texas Schoolbook Depository as the source of the shots, aligning with the official narrative, others claimed that shots came from different locations, such as the grassy knoll, a nearby area in Dealey Plaza. These conflicting accounts contributed to the doubts surrounding the lone gunman theory and have been used to support various conspiracy theories.
Correct. The answer is B. They were highly conflicting, with some witnesses claiming shots came from different locations. Okay, last one. Question 25. Despite decades of investigation and analysis, what fundamental aspect of the JFK assassination remains a subject of intense debate and speculation? A. The exact sequence of events leading up to the shooting, including the motorcade route. B. The identity of the individuals involved in the planning and execution of the assassination. C. The motivations behind the assassination, including whether Oswald acted alone or as part of a conspiracy.
We've covered a lot of ground in this trivia challenge, and it really highlights how complex and multifaceted this historical event truly is. The specifics of the motorcade route, while important, aren't the core of the ongoing debate, and while identifying everyone potentially involved is crucial, that too is secondary to the larger question that lingers. The most enduring mystery, the one that continues to fuel countless books, documentaries, and passionate discussions, is the why. Why was President Kennedy assassinated? Did Oswald truly act alone, driven by his own personal motivations, or was he part of a larger conspiracy, a pawn in a more complex and sinister plot? This question remains at the heart of the JFK assassination, and it's likely to continue captivating and challenging us for years to come.
You're absolutely right. The answer is C. The motivations behind the assassination, including whether Oswald acted alone or as part of a conspiracy.
So there we have it, 25 questions about the JFK assassination, all drawn from those mountains of official files.
It's amazing, isn't it? Even after all these years, all the investigations, all the documents released, there's still so much we don't know for sure.
It's a reminder that history isn't always neat and tidy. There are always gaps. always unanswered questions. And that's part of what makes it so fascinating.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Like, how much do we really know about the past? And how much of what we believe is shaped by the information we're given or not given?
Exactly. And I think that's one of the big takeaways from all this. The JFK assassination, those files. It's not just about one event in 1963. It's about how we understand history, how we grapple with ambiguity, how we deal with the fact that sometimes there are no easy answers.
This deep dive into the JFK assassination, it's been enlightening, thought-provoking, and honestly a little bit unsettling. Because it shows us that even with all the information we have, the truth can still be elusive.
And that, I think, is a powerful lesson for all of us. To be critical thinkers, to question what we're told, and to always keep searching for answers.
Well said. And on that note, we're going to wrap things up for today. But we want to leave you with one final question to ponder. If you could go back in time and ask just one question about the JFK assassination, what would it be? Who would you ask it to? Think about it. Dig into those files, explore the theories, and see where your own search for the truth takes you.
Until next time, keep those minds curious.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.